Well, good afternoon and welcome to Midday Prime. I'm Shreya Upadhyay, and in the next 1 hour, we'll get you the latest news from across India and the world. Now, Prime Minister Modi will be inaugurating this year's World Sustainable Development Summit, which has discussions on a plethora of issues, from air pollution and climate finance to clean oceans and viable environmental solutions. We'll also take a look at the business that is lined up in the Parliament today. Remember, the Prime Minister has just tweeted a short while back on his reply to the President's address in the Lok Sabha. And the status of rescue and relief operations in Uttarakhand. Will also be getting you the updates from business and sports. But first, let's take a look at the big news that we are tracking at this hour. PM to reply on the motion of thanks on the President's address in the lower house today. BJP issues a 3-line whip to the members to remain present in the Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha passes the Major Port Authorities Bill 2020, takes up discussion on the budget proposals. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate the World Sustainable Development Summit 2021 via video conferencing later in the day. The theme of the summit is redefining our common future, safe and secure environment for all. The 20th edition of the event will be held online from the 10th to the 12th of February. Death toll in flash floods in Uttarakhand is 32, more than 170 still missing. About 25 to 35 are feared trapped in the tunnel. Rescue efforts hampered by many factors, including the presence of large boulders. India's fight against COVID continues. Active caseload drops to 1.41 lakh. Present active cases now consist of just 1.30% of the total positive cases. 19 states do not report any death in the last 24 hours. Recovery rate stands at 97.27%. Three-member team of the Election Commission reaches Chennai. The team will also visit Puducherry and Kerala to take stock of the preparations for the ensuing assembly elections in the South Indian states. In international news, the US Senate votes 56 to 44 to move ahead with Donald Trump's impeachment trial on a charge of inciting the deadly assault on the Capitol. Majority of legal experts maintain it is constitutional to have an impeachment trial after an official has left office. Military junta continues to hold a tight grip on Myanmar even as protests gather momentum in the capital Naypyidaw and Yangon. Raids on the offices of Aung San Suu Kyi. UN expresses concern while many nations continue to condemn the action by the junta, calling for restoration of democracy. And let's begin with the big news of the bulletin. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will today inaugurate the World Sustainable Development Summit 2021 via video conferencing. The theme of the summit is redefining our common future, safe and secure environment for all. The 20th edition of the Energy and Resources Institute's flagship event, the World Sustainable Development Summit, will be held online from the 10th to the 12th of February. Now, the summit will bring together a wide number of governments, business leaders, academicians, climate scientists, youth and the civil society in the fight against climate change. India's Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and the Ministry of Earth Sciences are key partners of the summit. The energy and industry transition, adaptation and resilience, nature-based solutions, climate finance, circular economy, clean oceans and air pollution are amongst the range of topics which will be discussed during the summit. All right, now let's quickly take you through what the summit is really all about. The World Sustainable Development Summit is an annual flagship event of the Energy and Resources Institute, or the TERI. The summit completes 20 years of making sustainable development a globally shared goal. Remember, sustainable development has been a concern the world over. Now, this is an effective platform for mobilizing opinion makers and advance solutions to problems that concern the world over. For example, climate change, air pollution, marine pollution. These are the challenges that this platform strives to take solutions for. Now, the WSDS strives to provide long-term solutions to global challenges. As I mentioned, the world over, there are concerns about climate change, and the summit brings together heads of state and governments, Nobel laureates, business leaders and climate activists together in a platform to find these solutions, viable solutions to global climate concerns. Now, the summit also aims to bring voices of youth and women to the forefront. Very importantly, remember whether it's women's issues or the young, they all have had concerns with the climate, and this platform aims to sort of bring those solutions to the forefront. Now towards a safe and secure environment for all, this basically aims at bringing together concerns, the challenges, the solutions to all these global challenges. And well, to discuss more on this, I will be joined by environmentalist Dr. PK Joshi. Remember, World Development Summit 2021 will be inaugurated by the Prime Minister today, later in the day. And as I mentioned, this summit basically aims to find solutions to global challenges like climate change, air pollution, marine pollution. There has been a constant concern the world over for all these challenges. And of course, the summit brings forth the voices of the youngsters across the world, of the women. These are the concerns. And remember, India has done a lot when it comes to environmental challenges, whether it is Swachh Bharat or the International Solar Alliance. These are the initiatives, many initiatives that have been taken by the government of India to tackle environmental challenges. All right, now Dr. PK Joshi, who is an environmentalist, joins us to talk more on this. Dr. Joshi, thank you very much for joining us on Midday Prime. First of all, this summit could not have come, Dr. Joshi, at a very apt time when the world is dealing with a pandemic. We know that there have been several deaths and there has been ecological disbalance. So obviously, this summit holds a lot of significance when the Prime Minister inaugurates it today. Dr. Joshi, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Right. Dr. Joshi, thanks very much for joining us on DD India on Midday Prime. I had asked you about, the fact that this summit, this World Sustainable Development Summit, could not have come at an apt time because we are dealing with a pandemic. We know that coronavirus has posed a lot of global challenges, and obviously it holds a lot of significance when the Prime Minister will inaugurate it today.
Well, for quite a good time, we all are discussing about environmental challenges, both local or global, and the global climate change. And this last few months, and now almost near to a year, we have witnessed a global pandemic, and wherein some of the linkages are going to degradation or biodiversity. So I believe, given such kind of challenges which we have in country and rest of the globe, probably this is one of the most appropriate gathering wherein the head of the states, academicians, scientific bodies, civil, the people who are into voices of civil people and the youth, they can come together and discuss something which is the pressing need of the entire globe. So I see it a very promising step, and though this is there for last almost 20 years.
Yes.
But today when we all are meeting for that, I hope we'll be getting something very concrete which can help the entire globe particularly, and in very fact India.
Right. Right, Dr. Joshi, over the years, there has also been a lot of concern about, developed countries contributing to the rise in greenhouse gases in the environment. Now, in that context, how do you see the role of developing nations, a country as like India? What is the role of India when it comes to, say, global challenges like climate change or air pollution or even ocean pollution?
Well, if you see, in most of the challenges which are in the global arena, First, get to see a north and south divide, but also the divide between developing and developed countries. And there is no reason to doubt that developed countries have contributed much significantly in this global problem. India, which is the largest democracy with a lot of aspirations in country and elsewhere, has actually come with many nice steps in last few years, which has actually shown that the commitment which we had made in Paris Agreement, we are actually lining by that, and our all intentions are very clear, and our research come, political will come, the administrative reforms which are taking place, whether it is a forestry sector, whether it is a renewable energy sector, and even water and air. We are somewhere progressing towards setting an example for the entire world, wherein we can show that the country is serious about this, and it is very particularly interested to match the set targets and the commitments which it had made in Paris Agreement.
Right, Dr. Joshi, the theme for this summit this year is redefining our future. And of course, we all know that Corona, the pandemic, has really led to redefining of a lot of aspects of our future. How do you see, how do you see us redefining the future in terms of the environmental challenges that we face?
Well, to me, any kind of environmental problem or related disasters is a knock of nature to human society. And this COVID is probably in a much more bombarding way, which has communicated to entire globe. And when we talk about the role the way country has played, whether it is checking or ensuring that things move in a positive direction during COVID, or otherwise, country has set some examples. Like, when you talk about green cover, we have a commitment of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of equivalent carbon dioxide through sequestration through our forest. So that is something which a country has looked into policies, bringing in city forests, bringing in public-private partnership. You talk about the forest ecosystems or well-being of entire ecological linkages. India showed that we can achieve the targeted number of tigers well before in advance. Or you talk about renewable energy. There again, the set target which we have till, I believe, till 2022, which is close to 174 gigawatts. I get to understand that most of the investors, they are going much beyond that number. So, these are some of the glaring examples which country has shown to rest of the world and actually exhibited a leadership for most of the neighboring countries and elsewhere. So, that kind of set examples are actually giving a very strong position to country and its seriousness towards handling or understanding or providing solutions to global environmental challenges.
Sure, Dr. Joshi, there's also a lot of emphasis on the fact that voices of the young and the women should be heard. And we know that this government has really emphasized on the youth and women coming out and raising their voice on issues that they are concerned about. How do you think the youth and the women can contribute to, sustainable development when it really comes to that?
Well, to me, entire set of community, that will play a very significant role. But as you have picked up, women and youth, they show a higher degree of vulnerability, sensitivity, both towards environmental disasters and challenges. I believe the youth, it's capacity building, and the women who are at the direct contact with most of the natural resources when you talk about Himalayas, Central India, coastal areas. So their sensitization and their participation in terms of taking actions and realizing towards that make a lot of sense. And when I link it to the local the governance at present, you get to see many of the recognitions, many of the identifications which are going around. The government is picking or looking at people who are actually making a difference on the ground, and most of them, those are from the women crowd. And given the population distribution which is in the country, wherein you get to see 65% of the population is youth and maybe 50% was lesser than 25, if you enable them through capacity building, through sensitization, through awareness, and also bringing them onto the main framework of action, come policy formulation, probably they will make much greater and detailed sense in terms of operationalize of the things. So I see them as a promising actors, not only the stakeholders, promising actors in terms of handling these challenges and also providing some key meaningful solutions which actually makes difference on the ground, and that is which to me appears to be very sensible move. The government is standing by its commitments through its actions, through its different policies and all. Unless or until we bring up community in the mainframe and the youth as a main actor on the stage, probably doing everything will be very difficult.
Right.
And therein youth and female both are promising actors in this.
All right, Dr. Joshi, lastly, as an environmentalist, you know that the summit really discusses a plethora of issues. But if I could ask you to list top 3 global concerns on environment that exist today and need urgent action on, what would they be?
Well, to take this question, rather than talking about the challenges, I will say the solutions which globally or probably the summit will be discussing on. I see one, green growth, another nature-based solutions, which entire globe is talking about, and also giving much more emphasis on the renewable energy. If you address these things, not only global environmental change, climate change, vis-a-vis rising temperature or shifts in the precipitation, degradation, desertification of the land, these all things will be addressed in one go. So these are the challenges, but being very optimistic towards the actions which we need and what is being discussed in the summit, I see green growth, nature-based solutions, and turning towards renewable energy more emphatically are the 3 flagging ones.
And I think nature-based solutions is found in our very own Ayurveda in this country. We've known it, we've used it, we've implemented it, and it is time-tested. Thanks very much, Dr. Joshi, for joining us on Midday Prime. Well, now let's move to our developing story. Well, moving on to Uttarakhand, rescue efforts continue in the affected Chamoli district of the state, but the scale of the devastation caused by the flash floods and gushing waters have made the task even more challenging. The machines are the main hope for clearing the tunnel, as the task to clear the tunnel of debris is a challenging one, requiring hard work and deft handling at the same time. Now, with time passing away, hopes of finding survivors at the Tapovan and Rishi Ganga power project sites are slowly fading away. The search and rescue ops are continuing, but the tragedy has left a long trail of destruction. However, rescue efforts are continuing on war footing.
जो लोग घटना में लापता हैं, उनकी तलाश का काम विभिन्न स्तर पर किया जा रहा है। कुछ लोगों की आशंका है कि वो नदी के साथ पानी में बह गए होंगे, तो नदी के जो निचले क्षेत्र हैं वहाँ पर तलाशी अभियान चल रहा है। टनल 2.5 किलोमीटर लंबी है, उसके अंदर कुछ व्यक्ति उस समय काम कर रहे थे, 30-35 के करीब बताए जा रहे हैं, वो इसके अंदर थे और उसके जो ओपन एंड था वहाँ से मलबा अंदर गया। हम में से किसी को ये नहीं मालूम है कि मलबा कहाँ तक अंदर गया है, तो वर्तमान में 120 मीटर के करीब तक मलबा क्लियर किया गया है और लगातार ये काम दिन रात चल रहा है।
Now, the big boulders have been identified while cleaning the debris, and that is a big impediment for the rescue agencies.
रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन है, उसमें बड़ी प्रोग्रेस नहीं है। उसमें इतना है कि अभी जब जो मलबा खोद रहे हैं तो उसमें बड़े बोल्डर भी अब दिखने लगे हैं। अभी तक मलबा पूरी उससे जारी है। हमने वहाँ बीच में ड्रोन कैमराज भी भेजे, वो भी, और जो नेवी की मार्कोस की टीम आई थी, ये सब भी जहाँ तक हमारी मशीन काम कर रही है उसके आगे 10-15 मीटर से आगे नहीं बता पा रहे। तो हमें मलबे से 8 और नदी से 24, नदी में भी श्रीनगर तक हमें बॉडीज मिली हैं, तो 24, कुल 32 बॉडीज हमको अभी तक मिली हैं, जिनमें से 8 आइडेंटिफाइड हैं, 24 आइडेंटिफाइड नहीं है।
Now, the agencies involved in the project face an uphill task of removing the debris from the tunnel and rescue survivors. With the possibility of water also trapped inside the tunnel, with the officials in charge are wary of removing debris haphazardly. Now, it may trigger another mishap, they fear.
चैलेंजिंग टास्क यही है कि मलबा जो डेब्रीज अंदर फंसा हुआ है अब वो ज़्यादा निकल के बाहर आ रहा है। अब जो टेक्निकल एक्सपर्ट्स हैं एनटीपीसी के, वो ये कह रहे हैं कि अब थोड़ा रिस्की है, अंदर से पानी का बहुत तेज़ बहाव हो सकता है, तो आगे रहने किसी को अंदर जाने का उन्होंने अभी थोड़ा मना किया है। सिर्फ मशीन ही धीरे धीरे जाके जितना हो सके वो मलबा निकालेंगी।
Now, these are visuals of Vishnu Prayag area. Heavy damages were witnessed here due to the floods. The gushing waters have left a trail of disasters and has damaged many houses in the affected area. And so far, 32 bodies have been recovered in the region, while over 170 people are still missing. Security agencies are also delivering essential supplies to the cut-off villages using air support. Well, moving on to our national prime segment now. Well, let's get you Parliament news now. Prime Minister Modi will reply to the debate on the motion of thanks to the President's address in the lower house today. The PMO confirmed that the PM's reply will begin at around 4 p.m. Meanwhile, the upper house took up the discussion on the budget 2021-22, and there you can see the tweet on your screens that PMO India has given out. At around 4 p.m. today in the Lok Sabha, Prime Minister Modi will reply to the motion of thanks on the President's address. Remember, he has already spoken in the Rajya Sabha, and today he will be replying to the President's address in the lower house, that is Lok Sabha. Meanwhile, the upper house took up the discussion on the budget 2021-22. Congress MP Kapil Sibal initiated the discussion. Earlier, some members had suggested that the time granted for the discussion be increased to allow members to put forth their views more comprehensively. BJP member Sushil Kumar Modi hailed the budget proposal presented by the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman.
हमने एक नया सेस लगाया, that was the agriculture infrastructure development cess. And by levying this cess, the government of India will be collecting more than 30,000 crore as a cess, and this fund will be spent for the augmentation of the mandis, of the APMCs, और एग्रीकल्चर के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए ये 30,000 करोड़ स्पेंड किया जाएगा। और साथ ही महोदय, हम लोगों ने ये सेस जो लगाया, हम लोगों ने पेट्रोल पर, डीजल पर सेस लगाया, 12 चीजों पर कस्टम ड्यूटी कम किया, लेकिन हम लोगों ने जनता पर बोझ नहीं पड़ने दिया। तो मैं सदन को बताना चाहूंगा कि आखिर ये सेस जो है, जब इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर खर्च होगा एग्रीकल्चर का, तो राज्यों में ही खर्च होगा, राज्यों के माध्यम से ही खर्च होगा, तो अल्टीमेटली दिस सेस विल गो टू द स्टेट्स।
And earlier in the day, the Rajya Sabha started the legislative business as Mansukh Mandavia, the Union Minister of State for Ports, Shipping and Waterways, moved for consideration and passage of the Major Port Authorities Bill 2020. The upper house also passed the bill. The bill seeks to provide for regulation, operation and planning of major ports in India and to vest the administration, control and management of such ports upon the boards of major port authorities. The lower house, on the other hand, will see the conclusion of the discussion on the motion of thanks on the President's address. The discussion on the Union Budget 2021-22 is slated to be taken up after a reply to the motion of thanks on the President's address. The Bharatiya Janata Party has issued a 3-line whip to its Lok Sabha members to be present in the House today. And for more on this, my colleague Vishal Baristo joins us. Vishal, good afternoon. You know, the Prime Minister, of course, has tweeted a short while back that he will be replying to the President's address at 4 p.m. today. Earlier, we know that in the Rajya Sabha, when he spoke of how India has emerged stronger in the pandemic. He also reached out to farmers, clarifying from the floor of the Parliament that, you know, MSP will remain and there is no need for fear amongst the farmers. Now, today he is going to be replying in the Lok Sabha. What all is expected?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Shreya. Yes, indeed, we are all expecting Prime Minister's speech eagerly. I wish and I hope that the opposition would also listen to it very, very carefully, because they've had his word very clearly in the upper house of the parliament, but today is the lower house, and it's going to be an interesting debate after his speech as well. But let me tell you that Prime Minister has made it very clear that his government is all for the farmers, and on MSP, if I quote him, MSP tha, MSP hai, MSP rahega, unquote. So the Prime Minister has allayed all fears on the MSP, and time and again he has said that I am all ears for the farmers. This is not, the thing is perfect. We are all there to improvise, and if you have any suggestions, just come to me. The Agriculture Minister has done a great job. He has always heard all what the farmers had to say, but so far there has been no point of contention. We do not understand what the farmers want. All they are asking for is that the 3 farm laws be repealed, but that is only a section of the farmers, or should we say they are not really farmers. So the government is trying very hard for the doubling of income of the farmers, and these all three bills would be, rather acts would be in favor of the farmers, and this is all what is expected in the Prime Minister's speech today at 4 p.m. And let me tell you, before the lower house assembles at 4, the Rajya Sabha has also extended its duration for an hour. So discussion is still going on, and today the port authorities, major port authorities bill was passed with a division vote of 84 to 44, and now it will go for some amendments in the lower house, but that's a mere formality. The Minister of Union Minister has allayed all fears that it is not for the privatization of the major ports. It would be for the better administration of the major ports, and it would be replacing the 1963 Act, Port Trust Act of 1963. So the government is trying very hard. We have had a very good fight and a victory over COVID-19, and we want to take the economy forward. We want to focus on the Atmanirbhar Bharat, and Atmanirbhar is also the word that has been taken officially by the Oxford Dictionary. So that's a very good victory as far as India is concerned. Shreya?
Right, Vishal, of course, we'll have to see what the Prime Minister says, and we all know that it's a delight to listen to him when he is all out with his oratory skills. But, you know, you talked also about the business that is lined up in both the houses. We know that yesterday the parliamentarians, they worked well into the night and had several discussions. So really, you know, the parliamentarians also sending out a message that we are here for business and we're going to work and work towards the development of the country.
Well, absolutely, and it seems like a healthy competition between both the houses, with the upper house first extending it to the 12 till midnight, then for an hour more, 1 a.m. In the morning today, and Rajya Sabha also extending its business by 1 hour. So it seems that the parliamentarians have decided enough is enough. Now let's sit together and let's debate, because this is democracy, and as the Prime Minister said in the upper house, that this is the birthplace of democracy, and we need to send out a very good example to all the countries, because India is known for its discussions and debate, and also for its very good republic, and this is what we are all about. This is what India is all about. So the parliamentarians have decided, and today also we expect a healthy discussion, and we all hope and wish that the opposition also participates equally well in the manner in which they have done so far in the upper house of the parliament.
All right, Vishal, thanks very much for joining us with those inputs. We'll keep coming back to you for the latest from the Parliament. Remember, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be speaking in the Lok Sabha today at around 4 p.m. today, when he replies to the President's address, the motion on the President's address today. Now, moving on, continuing its vaccine Maitri with the world, India provided COVID-19 vaccines to Caribbean countries, Dominica and Barbados. The two nations received Made in India vaccines on Wednesday. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar informed about the arrivals on Twitter. He tweeted, and I quote, "Consolidating our Caribbean Connect. Barbados receives Made in India vaccines," unquote. And in another tweet, posting a picture of the consignment reaching Dominica, he said, and I quote, "A gesture of goodwill, an example of support. Made in India vaccines arrive in Dominica," unquote. Remember, Bhutan and Maldives were the first two countries to receive the COVID-19 vaccines on the 20th of January this year, followed by Bangladesh, Nepal, Myanmar, Seychelles and Mauritius. So India really continuing its neighbourhood first policy. Moving on, India has been consistently following a declining slope of active cases. The country's active caseload has dropped to 1.41 lakh today. The present active cases now consist of just 1.3% of India's total positive cases. 11,067 new daily cases have been recorded in the last 24 hours, whereas 13,087 patients have recovered and discharged in the last 24 hours. It has led to a net decline of 2,114 cases from the total active caseload. India's cumulative recoveries stand at 1,05,61,608 today. The recovery rate is 97.27%. 94 fatalities have been recorded in the last 24 hours. Now, as on 10th February this year, till 8 a.m., more than 66 lakh beneficiaries have received vaccination under the country-wide COVID-19 vaccination exercise. The total cumulative vaccination coverage of 66,11,561 includes 56,10,134 healthcare workers and 10,01,427 frontline workers. 1,34,746 sessions have been conducted so far. Now, with the vaccination drive crossing milestones, the efforts to track COVID-19 are still going strong. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, a total of 20 crore 33 lakh 24,655 samples have been tested for COVID-19 so far. Now, of these, 7 lakh 36,903 samples were tested on Tuesday alone. Union Minister for Civil Aviation Hardeep Singh Puri said that the government's effort is to open up more flight operations with COVID-19 restrictions in place. Speaking from the floor of Rajya Sabha, the minister said that the opening up of flights from more than 80% countries also depends on the behavior of COVID-19.
We opened up slowly to 45% on 26 June, 60% in September, 2nd September, 70% on 11th November, and 3rd December, 80%. Sir, our effort is always to open up a little ahead of the actual and potential traffic. Our decision to raise it beyond 80% will depend on the behavior of the virus and our sense of comfort that air travel has all the SOPs, and the commercial decisions will have to be taken because this is a deregulated sector by the air carriers.
On to some other news now. The Chief Election Commissioner of India, Sunil Arora, and Election Commissioner Sushil Chandra and Rajiv Kumar are on a two-day visit to 3 poll-bound South Indian states, that's Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Kerala. And the Election Commission team has already arrived in Chennai today to review poll preparedness in Tamil Nadu. The team will meet the representatives of political parties in Chennai today. The visiting team of the Election Commission is also scheduled to hold a meeting with State Chief Electoral Officers and Nodal Police Officers, and then with the District Electoral Officers and District Superintendents of Police in the state. The team will round off its visit with a press conference before leaving for Puducherry in the afternoon. Well, schools have reopened in Uttar Pradesh for students of classes 6th to 8th. As per the new guidelines, students of all classes will be able to attend class twice in a week. The new guidelines also mandate schools to hold classes with 50% of their strength. The schools in Uttar Pradesh have also been mandated to strictly adhere to COVID-19 protocols, including wearing a mask, social distancing and hand sanitizing. The government has been reopening schools in the state in a phased manner after closing earlier in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. BJP National President JP Nadda attended the Chai Pe Charcha program in Kharagpur in West Bengal. The party state president Dilip Ghosh was also present on the occasion. The BJP president said that those who came to power chanting the slogans "Ma Mati Manush" are actually the ones behaving in an authoritarian way and following the policy of appeasement. He added that nothing has been done for the welfare of poor farmers. He said that development is only possible when the lotus blooms in West Bengal.
जहां तक विकास का सवाल है, मोदी जी ने हर तरीके से विकास करने की कोशिश की और ममता जी की सरकार ने तुष्टीकरण, तानाशाही और तोलाबाजी के माध्यम से जनता को शोषण किया।
All right, let's get you news that has just come in. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has expressed concern at Twitter's blog post regarding the government's request to block some harmful handles under the relevant sections of the Information Technology Act. The ministry said that upon the request of Twitter seeking a meeting with the government, the IT secretary was to engage with senior management of Twitter. In this light, a blog post published prior to this engagement is unusual. The government will share its response soon. Now, interestingly, the ministry also shared its statement on the Coup app. Coup is an Indian microblogging website, and Minister Piyush Goyal had recently announced about his presence on the app. And after that, in Midday Prime, it's time for the news and updates from the world of business. Alright, in business, stock markets had a flat opening on Wednesday. Major gainers in the Sensex pack were Bajaj Finserv, Ultrachem, HCL Tech, Bajaj Auto, RIL and TCS. Now, Asian stocks inched higher with the Australian S&P index up 0.5% and Japan's Nikkei slipped 0.31%. On the Wall Street, major stock indices closed a little changed. And now let's have a look at what's making news across the world. Well, a divided US Senate voted mostly along party lines on Tuesday to move ahead with Donald Trump's impeachment trial on a charge of inciting the deadly assault on the Capitol, but conviction appears unlikely, barring a major shift among Republicans. Now, the Senate voted 56-44 to proceed to the first ever trial of a former president, rejecting his defense lawyer's argument that Trump was beyond the reach of the Senate after having left the White House on the 20th of January. 6 Republican senators joined Democrats to vote in favor of allowing the trial to proceed. One Republican senator who had previously voted to block the trial on constitutional grounds changed their vote. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana said he had done so because the House managers made a compelling cogent case. Democrats hope to disqualify Trump from ever again holding public office, but Tuesday's outcome suggested that they face long odds. 17 Republican senators would need to vote with Democrats to secure a conviction. Convicting Trump would require a 2/3 majority in the 50-50 Senate, and most legal experts have said that it is constitutional to have an impeachment trial after an official has left office.
On this vote, the ayes are 56, the nays are 44, and pursuant to S. 47, the Senate having voted in the affirmative on the foregoing question, the Senate shall proceed with the trial as provided under the provisions of that resolution.
Now, the trial will resume today when the Democratic managers will have 8 hours to present the case for convicting Trump. Both sides will have 2 days to mark their arguments before the Senate considers possible witnesses before a final vote. Senators will convene every day until a verdict is reached. And Trump is also facing charges of inciting his supporters to raid Capitol Hill last month, remember, as the 45th US president. The trial is an unusual one. It not just makes him the first president in United States history to be impeached twice by the lower chamber of Congress, but he is also the first president in the US history to face a Senate trial after leaving office. Now, amid this, there is a lot of debate on whether his impeachment this time holds any water in terms of legality, since his impeachment trial begins after he demitted office. A school of thought believes that impeachment is about removing somebody from office, and Trump is already out of office, while some believe that the Constitution of the United States paves a way for his disqualification from future office as one of the remedies for impeachment. Now, to disqualify Trump from holding office in future, the Senate will need to convict him, which can only happen if 67 members of the 100-member Senate vote against him. Now, the Senate is divided into a 50-50 ratio, where 50 seats are held by Republicans and 50 by Democrats. So the conviction can only happen if 17 Republicans vote against him. The prosecution and defense will be given 16 hours to make their arguments. A round of voting will then be held to call the witnesses who will testify against or in favor of Donald Trump, deciding the future of this unusual impeachment trial. And we'll have to see how that pans out. Moving on to Myanmar, where the ousted state councillor Aung San Suu Kyi's party office was raided by the military authorities on Tuesday night. The military and police authorities broke into the headquarters of the National League for Democracy in Yangon and a nearby regional office. Widespread demonstrations continue in Mandalay, Yangon and several other regions of Myanmar against the military government. Students and workers demonstrated in the Yangon region, demanding the military to step down and release the political leaders detained after the military takeover on the 1st of February. Government employees also participating in the demonstration in the capital city, Nay Pyi Taw. We have seen visuals of those. And after concerns raised by the United Nations and New Zealand, the US State Department announced that it was reviewing assistance to ensure that those responsible for the coup face significant consequences. The US State Department spokesperson Ned Price said that everyone had a right to freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. US also repeated its calls for the military to relinquish power, restore democratically elected government, release those detained and lift all telecommunication restrictions and to refrain from violence.
We strongly condemn violence against demonstrators. All individuals in Burma have rights to freedom of expression, association, peaceful assembly, including for the purposes of peaceful protest. We repeat our calls for the military to relinquish power, restore democratically elected government, release those detained, and lift all telecommunication restrictions and to refrain from violence.
Well, moving back to United States, where President Joe Biden met with the chief executives of JP Morgan, Chase, Walmart, Gap Inc. and Lowe's companies as part of his efforts to boost an economy still reeling from the coronavirus pandemic. Biden and the executives, joined by Vice President Kamala Harris and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, discussed Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus recovery package, known as the American Rescue Plan.
We're in a position to think big and to move in a direction that can be not only get the economy back on its feet, but we have to get people well before we get people on their feet. We've focused a lot of the attention on making sure that we deal with the coronavirus, get it under control.
On to Greece now, where Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis has announced a full lockdown in Athens and the Greater Attica region to curb a resurgence in the coronavirus cases. The new restrictions in the capital include closing non-essential shops and schools from 11th of February until the end of the month. Authorities registered 1,526 infections on Tuesday, with COVID-19 related deaths reaching 6,017 since the coronavirus was first detected.
The goal is to always be one step ahead of the virus, and this tactic was effective with the last restriction in January. Today, however, the danger is reappearing We could wait a few more days, but the alarm bells are ringing, and we have learned to act in order to prevent the problem and not follow behind the problem in order to save lives.
And now it's time for stories from the world of sports. And my colleague Narayan is getting us all the latest from the world of sports. Narayan, what's happening?
Right, Shreya, let's get started with the action on the day 3 of the Australian Open. Defending champion Novak Djokovic survived a serious scare from American Francis Tiafoe, who pushed him to 4 grueling sets before world number 1 prevailed. The Serbian top seed looked in control after taking the first set, but the lighting quick Tiafoe, who reached the quarterfinals 2 years ago, refused to go quietly. He bounced back to take a close second set before Djokovic dug deep to emerge 6-3, 6-7, 7-6, 6-3 winner and continue his relentless march towards a 9th Australian Open title. In another men's singles match, Dominic Thiem eased into the Australian Open third round, but former champion Stan Wawrinka was knocked out. Thiem, last year's beaten finalist, was only on court for 1 hour and 39 minutes as he beat Germany's Dominic Koffel 6-4, 6-0, 6-2 on Rod Laver Arena. The Australian third seed will face Australia's Nick Kyrgios or France's Hugo Humbert in the next round. In women's singles category, Serena Williams breezed into the Australian Open third round. American Williams, who has dropped just 5 games in her 2 matches so far, beat Serbia's Nina Sonovic 6-3, 6-0. Now, news from the domestic from Uttar Pradesh, Munita Prajapati came into her own in scripting a new national record in the under-20 women's 10,000 meter race walk with a fine victory on the penultimate day of the 36th National Junior Athletic Championships at the Haru Hazai Stadium in Guwahati. It helped her overcome the pain of being beaten to third place a fortnight ago. Her time of 47 minutes 53.58 seconds earned the record from Reshma Patel, who packed the mark at the 48 minutes 25.90 seconds in the winning Federation Cup Junior Under-20 Athletic Championship gold in Bhopal on January 26 this year. Munita, 19-year-old from Varanasi, won the race, in which top 5 finisher batted the meet mark of 49 minutes 16.51 seconds set by Priyanka Goswami in 2014. Prince Pal Singh will realize his American dreams as he kickstarts his professional basketball career today. 6 years after he first touched a basketball, Prince Pal, son of an electrician in Gurdaspur, Punjab, will become the 3rd Indian hoopster to play in the G League of the National Basketball Association. The 20-year-old will play for Ignite, a development team consisting of mostly of NBA draft prospects from around the world. He is also the first NBA Academy India graduate to sign professional contract with the NBA G League. Now shifting focus to football, Manchester United won their 9th straight home FA Cup match on Tuesday with a 1-0 result over the West Ham. The Red Devils' streak at Old Trafford in the competition takes him level with their all-time best mark, which was set in 1912. It took Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's team 97 minutes to break through against the Hammers, but Scott McTominay's precise strike made the wait worthwhile. West Ham have been dreadful against Manchester United in the FA Cup this century. They have been eliminated each of their last 4 FA Cup ties against Red Devils, going out in 2002-03, 2012-13 and 2015-16 before their latest defeat. Meanwhile, in another match, managerless Bournemouth reached the quarterfinals of the FA Cup for the first time in 64 years with a victory against Premier League club Burnley. Sam Surridge put the championship club ahead after connecting with the Jack Stacey's low cross. Junior Stanislas added the second from the penalty spot after Surridge was fouled. Bournemouth, who have won both of their games under caretaker manager Jonathan Woodgate, were deserved winners in this match. Meanwhile, in La Liga, Real Madrid moved second as they closed the gap to leaders Atletico Madrid with a comfortable win over Getafe. The reigning champions began the contest without 9 first-team players because of injury or suspension, but were dominant throughout. Karim Benzema headed in the opener before the defender Ferland Mendy doubled the lead from a move he started. Real now trail Atletico by 5 points but have played 2 games more, with the likes of Eden Hazard, Sergio Ramos, Federico Valverde, Toni Kroos and Alvaro Ortizola all absent. Real Madrid boss Zinedine Zidane elected to field an unusual 3-4-3 formation, and it worked perfectly against opponents who lacked ambition and have struggled for the goals in the Spanish top flight this term. That's all from the sporting world. For more updates, back to Shia.
Well, thanks very much, Narayan, for all those updates. Principal Singh making all of us proud there when he plays in the NBA. Now it's time for our next segment, which is Live Prime, where we bring you stories from the world of art, culture, fashion and science. Temple elephants from Tamil Nadu were seen at a rejuvenation camp in the woods of Coimbatore. These eye-catching visuals show the jumbos taking relaxing baths and gobbling their favorite delicacies. The animal will be spending the next 48 days in the forest at the rejuvenation camp. These elephants spend most of the year in the restricted environment of their temple, and this rejuvenation camp gives them an opportunity to improve their physical as well as mental being. Well, so it's not just the human beings, but elephants also need rejuvenation. Moving on, snow is one of the much desired things for people who wait the entire year for the winter season. To make this winter a memorable one for his children, a Latvian father made a huge sledding track at the backyard of his house in northern Latvia. The kids are seen enjoying the ride along the 170-meter long track. Motorcycle sidecars have been used to make the two sleds, and old water pipes were repurposed as the runners. Alright, moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the World Sustainable Development Summit 2021 via video conferencing later in the day. As if on a cue, Indian scientists have once again delivered on PM's call of working towards reducing the carbon footprints. In a path-breaking achievement, researchers at IIT Delhi have generated clean fuel hydrogen from water. Now, the fuel is not just cheaper, but it is also cleaner. Here's a report.
There has been a steep rise in global energy demand, and the necessity to curb greenhouse emissions have driven researchers to look for alternative sources which are cleaner and greener. Amid this, researchers at the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, have generated clean hydrogen fuel from water at a very low cost. Researchers of the Premier Institute have successfully split water to a process known as sulfur iodine thermochemical hydrogen cycle to generate low-cost, clean hydrogen fuel for industrial consumption.
Water can be split using sulfur and iodine at reasonably low temperatures and pressures. Otherwise, water cannot be split so easily into hydrogen and oxygen. Water is a molecule that contains both hydrogen and oxygen. So H2O. So we want H2. So if we can split water and get H2 from there, that will be a green way of getting future fuel called hydrogen. So this one is called the cycle which utilizes the sulfur and iodine for water splitting, is called the sulfur iodine thermochemical cycle for water splitting.
This technology to separate hydrogen fuel from water is entirely indigenous, and the complete process has been developed at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. This technology is funded by Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Energy Centre. The institute has been working on this project since 2007.
As we know that these particular fuels won't last a lifetime. So we need a fuel that is available, abundant, and that is eco-friendly. So the hydrogen, if we are producing hydrogen from water, and then when we are utilizing this hydrogen for getting energy out of it, then the exhaust of this particular fuel will again produce water. So this will become a loop. So it will never end. So this particular fuel will never end. So it is a future fuel.
Hydrogen gas, a viable choice as a renewable substitute for fossil fuels, can help mitigate emissions. It is expected that in coming days there will be a large-scale commercial production of hydrogen and reduction in dependence on petroleum fuels. Nishant Saurav's report, DD India.
And from India to Europe, it's always said that whatever happened to you for the first time, be it any new experience, the second one is never the same. And snowfall is not new to European countries, but Baudi and Baumé, the two baby pandas at a Belgian zoo, are mesmerized to see snow for the first time, while in Lithuania, people seem buoyant enjoying snowfall despite COVID-19 restrictions. The country's Vilnius has become the first city in the world to offer sledges to rent as part of a car-sharing service. To know more about those interesting stories, take a look at this report.
Winter storms and snowfall are not just celebrated by humans, as these panda siblings encounter their first snow at a Belgian zoo while freezing weather swept parts of northern Europe. Amid few failed attempts at crawling and rolling under the snow blanket, the sibling duo spotted enjoying the winter chills with their mother Hao Hao, who is already an expert at it. The panda twins were born in Peri Daiza Zoo in August 2019. Native to a cold habitat, they are most active during the winter. As the flakes fell, the panda cubs had the most fun, rolling, sliding and playing with their first snow. Winter fun for all in Lithuania. With pan accessibility, Vilnius city has become the first in the world to offer sledges on rent as part of a car-sharing service. Local company City B has come up with 100 cars equipped with sledges in the trunks available for rent, including special accessible cars. Through this, people can find less crowded places in snow-clad hillsides amid COVID-19 restrictions. With booking for sharing cars, clients can enjoy the wooden vintage-style sleds without even paying anything extra. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, on that adorable note, it's a wrap in Midday Prime today, but news and updates from across the world continue on DD India. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.